This is Sounds Like Relict, a collaboration between Sounds Like Adventure and Hounds On Games to celebrate the launch of the Kickstarter for Relict. Hey there, it's episode 2 of Sounds Like Relict. It's me, Jack. Hey, how you going? Thank you for joining us. And wow, what a start to this series. If you don't know already, if you haven't listened to episode 7 of Sounds Like Adventure, the launch day of Sounds Like Relict was our biggest launch day in history. It was so exciting. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us again. And to get us started, I'm joined by Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Jack, how we doing?
Really good. I'm so excited. So we are fully in the throes of Kickstarter right now. We've passed the initial high, the initial joy. How are we at? How are we tracking? What's next?
Blown away at this point. We are, first of all, right before episode 2, we have already locked in the 10 Silvers Bent adventure adaptation stretch goal. So that's amazing. I've gotten a bunch of comments and messages from people being like, oh, this was super cool. I want to check it out, So you not only are welcome to come check it out and check out the show and all that good stuff, but you can play your own version of this adventure, which we will be developing, and that will be included for all backers of the Kickstarter. It is going in everyone's kit. So there we are. We're off to the races.
So that's like super exciting. And then hitting that stretch goal. So if people are listening to 10 Silvers Bent and they're liking what they're hearing, they're actually going to be able to play this campaign at their own tables.
Absolutely. There, and you got glimpses behind the screen here and there of all the other things going on in that city, and we talked a little bit about other paths that you might have taken, so that's all going to be in there. So you are going to have, even if you love the show and you memorize the whole thing, your adventure through 10 Silvers Bent may look very different by the time you're done with it at your table. And that is coming to the Kickstarter. That is going to be an included adventure for everyone who backed at the right pledge level or whatever, at the digital tier and higher, I believe I should say. Everyone is getting all of the stretch goals that we come out with. They're being added to what you're getting in the initial backing. We are trying, so the more this goes, the more everyone gets. That's the plan.
So we've hit these 2 first targets. What is our next target? What are we working towards? What are we going to hype people up to get to?
So, in fact, we've already hit the next target after 10 Silvers Bent. We funded that, I believe, yesterday, day before. It's called Boudica Bookworm's Lumbering Library. It is about a dragon named Boudica who has a hoard that is a library that is built on the back of a giant golem, and it wanders around. And you and your adventuring party are tasked with doing many library-related, whimsical, and delightful tasks for her, because it never actually stops moving, and it's somewhat of a problem for her. So that is coming. It is Miyazaki and Miyamoto inspired type of a little bit more lighthearted adventure, something for maybe a more all-ages type table after the doom and gloom of 10 Silvers. So that is already funded. That is already happening. But don't fret if you like the grim dark, because right after that, we are already almost halfway at the time we jumped on here to the next one, which is going to be called Trouble on the Mountain. That is a Dawn of the Dead type undead apocalypse adventure where you defend a small town when the dead start rising. And we're already almost halfway to that goal too. So we got more stuff coming down the pipeline, and we are 1 week in. Here we go.
And for anyone who's listening right now and is thinking about backing, and I've heard from a few people where they've said, oh, money's a bit tight now, I might wait till the end of the campaign. Great thing to know about Kickstarter is they don't take your money till the end of the campaign.
That is correct. I appreciate any form of support people can offer. Obviously, we've discussed many times, Relict is a free system. That doesn't mean it's free for me to exist in this world. So this Kickstarter is a huge thing for kind of just opening up our options for the rest of the year and what we're going to do and what we're going to put out. So this is really appreciate it. I'm blown away by some of the comments and messages I've gotten, both about the campaign and Relict and about 10 Silvers. People really, really responded to the show, which has been so cool. My dad is hooked.
Love it. But speaking of 10 Silvers Bent, let's talk about today's episode. So a couple of bits and pieces I wanted to touch on for the folks who are listening when we jump into things, because it's going to be a bit of a combat-heavy episode today, folks at home. So there's a few things I want to touch on that are going to make it a bit easier to understand what's happening in the episode. So first up, let's talk about the damage system of Relict, because Relict doesn't have traditional hit points for their player characters.
That is true. This is one of our weirdest things that we do that has turned out to be one of the most fun things we do in Relict. So for player characters, not necessarily the monsters, the GM's got to run a lot of different things at once. So we keep things simple for them. But for player characters, you don't have a hit point pool. What you have on the back of your character sheet or in your pile of character sheets, depending on how you print it, is a series of charts that correspond with different damage types. Sexy, I know. So for example, you might have a little column that says slashing damage and another little column that says piercing damage. I say you take 5 slashing damage. Okay, great. You go to that column, it's got little check boxes, and you go check off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't hit any special spaces on that path, nothing crazy happens. But you very likely, and actually I think at 5 you might hit one that's a different color, different shape, whatever, and it says, oh, now you're bleeding. Or, oh, you've taken a bigger injury. Or, oh, this other thing happened. Those charts are a little different for each kind of damage you can take. So, like, the slashing damage chart looks different than the burning damage chart, which looks different than the infernal or the eldritch damage chart. And there's maybe a little bit of that coming up in this adventure, too. Different things happen on different charts. This reflects, like, getting stabbed by a sword is a little bit different than being lit on fire. And that leads to different things that you, as a player or a character, may want to do about it when those things happen to you. These things can also turn into what we call afflictions, which are lingering serious injuries that will follow you from one fight to the next and kind of be a permanent problem until you deal with them or take a very extended rest. And those range in severity. You start off with some small ones. They're a little bit randomized, but they range in severity from like losing a bit of armor or losing a bit of speed because you hurt your leg or you broke a finger or something like that, all the way up to, dying. So that's bad and usually permanent.
So that's going to happen in today's episode. So we'll explain it again when it does happen, but keep an eye out for it. But another thing that is going to be a little bit different for folks who are coming to this show from a D&D background is the 2-action combat system and movement counting as an action. Can you talk this through a little bit?
Yeah. So one thing that was really important as we were playtesting and as I was kind of designing Relict was we wanted combat to be more engaging and faster. Not in terms of like an individual turn, but we wanted the rounds to kind of cycle through faster. So we settled on a 2-action system, including movement. What that does is it keeps each turn moving a little bit quicker, but it also frees up some limitations. For example, you can make 2 attacks, you can move twice, you can cast 2 spells. As long as you've got the mana and stamina resource to do whatever you're trying to attempt to do, the action doesn't limit you based on what you're attempting to do in that regard. So, for example, your wizard might run out and say, I'm going to cast a fireball here, I'm going to cast a fireball here. Boom, that's my turn. A lot of stuff happens faster, and the round comes back around more quickly.
And then talk about stamina and mana as well, as opposed to spell slots.
Yeah, so we do not have spell slots in Relict. What we have are stamina and mana. Which if you've ever played a game like Diablo is a great example. It's basically your little mana bubble on the side. You have a set amount, your battery. You use it when you use your spells and abilities, and then it refills at the start of your turn up to a certain amount. So you can save up a bunch for a couple of turns, do some big stuff, or you can try and manage your budget to stay within what's going to regenerate each turn. You can also power up your abilities by spending extra to do extra things. So you can spend extra stamina to make sure an attack hits or make sure it does more damage, or you can spend extra mana to have a spell go off with a bigger boom. So that's kind of the other dynamic to all of this that the players are doing throughout these fights is managing that little bit of resource turn to turn.
So yeah, there's some interesting gameplay that comes out of this resource management in there. It gives you some different options that are available to you. And the regeneration is really cool, I must say, as a player, because it means, hey, I can just fire off spells throughout this combat. I don't have to worry about using up all my spell slots before I get to the big bad.
Yeah, there was no, I don't think anyone really likes standing in a fight going, man, I better not do anything because I might want to do something later.
Or I can't do anything because I did something before.
Yeah, 3 sessions ago.
Yeah, exactly. So that's no fun for anyone. Great. And yes, that is everything you need to know to dive into this episode. So let's get into it. Now, you remember when we left things off last week, Zane had just come to the realization that he has some memories that he can't quite access, but he managed to sort of knock something loose and remember something that everyone else can't. So we'll pick things up right at that very moment. What happens next? How do George and Leo react? We'll find out in the next episode of Sounds Like Relict right now.
I think, what does Zane kind of feel in this moment?
I think Zane is it's a pretty chatty guy, probably voices a lot of his thoughts. But the thoughts that would be running through his head, he'd be like, how do I voice this to someone? And he'd be trying to think of details of the last shipwreck he mentioned that he remembers. Is there anything that stands out specifically about that shipwreck that he could mention to the other guys?
Yeah, okay. So what I'll say is the last shipwreck you remember was pretty mundane. You were dredging stuff up. You were, salvaging a couple of old cannons. They're good for the iron and the brass that goes into their construction. Nothing particularly noteworthy. But I'm going to honor that crit here. I'm going to say, Zane, you remember overhearing right before. So you focus in on the last thing you can remember. For that gap of missing time, I think you remember hearing the warden, Swimstorm, and Bucksweeper talking about going back to a wreck they had noticed on a previous voyage that wasn't part of the plan. Because you're a little ahead of schedule, so why not bring home a little more?
So, yeah, I think Zane is hey, boys, I was just trying to remember something. Something's just kind of tripping me up a little bit. You guys probably remember it better than me. You guys are smarter than me. Remember we were salvaging that wreck. We were getting the iron out of the cannons and stuff. And there was going to be a storm. And then next thing I remember, we were about to arrive back. I can't... What happened in between those two things? Do you guys remember?
Would with this information, would Leo acknowledge the gap in his memory?
I think you immediately know you don't know what he's talking about. That information is not there. File not found. I think George is aware that there's something there, something has happened. Leo is real focused on this bone situation. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, Leo's got the tunnel vision.
I think George, it probably feels intuitively right if Zane is pointing out that there's a missing period there based on kind of the mental block you were running into.
I feel there's something, I can't tell what it is, but it doesn't feel right. And it feels like there should be something I could reach for, but I can't.
I remember this other thing. It just comes to me now, eh? I really can't even... It's weird, eh? The bloody grasses, bloody cuck sweeper and Swinsco or whatever their name are. I overheard them talking about something, eh? And they were like, we want to go back to this other wreck. And yeah, that's it. I don't remember going back to another wreck. I don't even remember what happened next, eh? We were just nearly back here.
Don't recall any of that, which doesn't feel right at all.
You don't remember any of this?
At the mention of this, I think Leo would be this would pique Leo's interest. He may not remember it himself or may not be able to acknowledge it himself, but it'd pique his interest as this is something I want to know more. I want to know how this happened, where these memories gone. What
would Leo like to do about that?
Maybe have a delve back into if he knows of anything that could either magical or alchemical or basically in his fields of research, whether he knows of anything that could have this sort of effect, maybe.
Okay, I'm going to two things. I'm going to tell you just lay of the land. Zane, especially been acting as Leo's assistant for a long time. There's a number of places you could go. probably the closest and most convenient. There's a couple of stores just nearby in the Market District you could swing to, and then swing back to the Tulip, which is over in Bullock Stocks, right, actually very close to where the Doubleback Keen just docked. So I'm going to say probably heading in that direction, right? Leo, second thing I'm going to do is offer you a bit of a devil's bargain. You've rolled quite poorly on these checks, which is so much fun.
It's par for the course. Like,
It's great. Leo is not, as a result of that, immediately aware of like magical effects or things that could have led to this circumstance. What Leo is aware of is there are concoctions and combinations of substances that can broaden the mind, that could potentially, if imbibed, with little regard for the risk, unlock some things, shake some things loose, give you a new perspective. That would not require a check, and you could pick these things up where you're going pretty easily. Those, if used, would not require a check, definitely would take a physical toll.
Okay.
And you arrive at the potion shop.
Yay! I think Leo, being who Leo is, would be like he would. I don't think he'd disclose the ill effects yet, if at all, depending on Leo. But he would be like, I have just the thing for this. I've been wanting to try this for some time. I don't know how this works, but I do have something for this. And immediately is like, I get to the potion shop and he's like, yes, you. I imagine that he's probably been here a few times as he's sort of stocked his agents. And things.
You see Fiora Bendaga.
He's like, oh, yes, Fiora, yes.
Are you out of jail already?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right. Yeah. What are you looking for there, Leo? What do you need?
I would like 3 of those, 1 of those, and two of those, please.
All right. Yeah. No, we can pack that up for you. Listen? We can put it on your account, on your tab. We held it. You were in prison. It is due in a week. Are you going to make a payment on it? We can extend that. Or, I mean, listen, you owe us... What are we at now? Kind of flips through a ledger behind the desk. She gets to a page that's got like a red, like, slash mark through it. Just like, this is the problem child page. You're not the only name on there, but you're on there.
Yeah.
Leo, you currently owe us 78 gold.
Yes.
It's coming due. I want to be clear on this. It is coming due in 9 days. All right?
Minor inconvenience here. A couple of copper as a goodwill, and he puts like 3 copper on the table as like a passing gesture.
Fantastic. I'll apply that 1% of your balance to your account. All right. I mean, listen. Cutting it close. I just want to make that clear. You have paid your debts to us in the past. Let it ride. It's going to add 3 gold to the total. You good with that?
Yes.
In for a copper, in for a gold, I guess. Yeah, all right. Listen, I don't want to send Saxton after you for this.
Does. Saxton's no problem.
All right. Okay. And she makes a note and she, all right, bag it up. And she kind of puts things together in a little basket, hands it to you. So, Leo, you're messing with folk. It's not my problem.
I think Leo would like this would water off a duck's back. Like it's not not even concerned for Leo.
You'll have a payday. It'll happen.
For me personally, I'm like, God damn it.
Have you thought about refinancing your alchemy loans?
They take your glands as payments. They don't pay up.
Well, they do now. As you guys step out of the alchemy shop, say you see a peculiar sight. Feature of Tumble Frey, one thing that is relatively common. Dueling is actually legal in the city here, believe it or not, under strict rules and regulations, and as long as everyone pays a permit fee. But there actually are a number of, and not used as often today, but there are a number of dueling squares built into the roads of the city. And the alchemy shop is not far from one. You're kind of up the block a little ways. There seems to be a commotion happening at the nearest one. Maybe you guys are interested in that, maybe you're not. I don't necessarily think, who knows if you guys want to go mix it up. But before you can really decide on that, I will say that one thing you hear from up the block, yeah, you're never going to believe it. I got bones now. This is awesome. High five. What the hell? What the hell was that? You see that thing come down? Oh, Jake. Oh, there's another. What? And then you start to hear pained screams.
George is moving. That's our friend. That's our mate Noodle, formerly known as Noodles.
Formerly
He's
known
in
as
trouble.
Noodles.
Zane would keep pace with George, but is probably moving a little more stealthily, I think, and aware that he still doesn't want to get recognized.
Leo would have the roll of the eyes as both of them run off, being fine, and then trudge off after them as well.
George is pretty big. He's wearing shiny armor, and he's also carrying a big headman's axe. So people usually give him a bit of space.
Yeah.
As you guys approach, you see, initially you hear, surprise, shouts. It's a bit of a scuffle. And then you hear people scream. High pitch. Oh my God! What the? God! You see people running, scattering from the dueling ring up the road. As the crowd disperses and you get closer, you see Noodle. One good arm up over his head, curling down into the fetal position as birds are diving down and striking him. You see blood spray. Noodle is in serious trouble right now. As you get closer, we approach.
Yeah, what kind of birds are we talking?
Go ahead and make a precision check for me.
All right. I've got a whole +1 on that. So I'll roll 12 + 1. That's a 3.
Definitely birds. They can fly.
Of all the birds, these are some of them.
George has a moment. Are birds real? Yeah, probably.
Bloody birds.
Okay.
He charges forward and swings
As
the Hatman's axe.
George charges into the fray, one of these birds swoops down and I think comes up into George's face. And you see now an answer to your question. A seagull, horribly deformed. Tentacles, and extra beaks and extra eyes emerging from its form. Feathers molding into cephalopod type skin and gnarled textures and slime dripping. The many beaks screech at you. I need you guys to go ahead and roll initiative for me.
Oh, lovely.
That's a D12. There is not a bonus to initiative in Relict. What we do is we use a tie-breaking system, and I will kind of explain that as we get the results in here.
Beautiful. All right.
Chai, we got an 8.
Yep, Zane has rolled a 1.
And Leo, an 8.
All right. So that's great. We're going to do a little tiebreaker on our initiative here. Who's got the lower armor of you two? I've got to guess that it is our Plague Doctor.
I've got an 8.
I've got 10.
Yeah, okay. So the lowest armor is going to go first in that instance. So that's going to be Leo, and then immediately after is going to be George. Little bonus for having a little less. Okay, fantastic. You see
A tentacle gull.
Yeah.
Tentacle.
Good old Squidgull. Yeah. Our good old friend. You see several of these things dive bombing what appears to be a relatively comatose and pretty bloodied Noodle. And some larger birds that are circling around and making their way down. Up first in the initiative order is actually the Burbs. So the first one is going to see you guys coming. George, you said you were kind of charging in. It's going to react aggressively and fly towards you and kind of run up to meet you. That'll be the one that was interrupting you in your charge. And we've got some other birds in the mix up here as well, reacting to the live prey that has stuck around. That was one action, each of them to move. We're going to do second action, just like with player characters. Relic is a 2-action-based combat system. Every creature will have 2 actions on their turn, including movement and spellcasting and other things. The squid gull number 1 right here. George is going to take a shot at you. He's going to go ahead and make a roll. I'm not going to tell you what the bonuses are. I'm going to do those myself. Well, that's fun. It's fun for me. GM's going to go ahead and crit on that. George, what's your armor?
10.
Alrighty. We're going to go ahead and roll. Nothing crazy. Going to be a 3 plus 1, and I'm going to use my crit as the DM to roll an additional damage die on that. You are going to go ahead, George, and take 7 piercing damage. Go to your piercing damage chart and check off 7 boxes for me.
I'm trying. I think I'm doing it. Yeah, I've done it.
It is not going to go ahead and hit a milestone for you yet, so that will be the extent of that damage. That seals both actions. I'm going to go ahead and have the other one move to close with Zane as its second action. Okay, our Snotbatros, come up with a better name if you want, bigger bird, looks gooey, is going to make a dive bomb attack. As part of this action, it can move an additional up to 30 feet. Hey, Leo, how you doing? It's going to take a shot at you. We're going to do... Leo, what's your armor?
8.
That is going to hit, my friend. We're going to go ahead and roll.
Lovely.
You're going to go ahead and take 4 piercing damage and 2 eldritch damage for me.
Okay, so I take 3 piercing because of my armor and 2 eldritch.
Yeah, and that'll be in the esoteric section down on the bottom right.
Yeah, I've got that one, and that puts me in a make a knowledge check to avoid being frightened.
Yeah, Eldritch, the call of the void, the spaces beyond.
So I need to beat a 6 because of my damage, if I'm reading that correctly. 4 plus current Eldritch. Yep. That'll be a 9.
You are not frightened.
Not frightened.
Yes. So that is their turn. After that, we've got Leo. George, you're on deck after Leo.
Okay. Leo has this slimy bird in his face. I think, for lack of having much in the way of potions at the moment, he's going to use his gravitic blow.
You want to read off the text of gravitic blow, because that's a fun one.
Yeah, so when you deal damage with a weapon attack, you may activate this ability to imbue the strike with gravitational manipulation. You add 1d4 kinetic damage to the attack.
So go ahead and roll to see if you hit first. So it's going to be a d12 plus, I believe with that weapon, it'll be a might.
So that'll be a 9 plus 2, 11.
You're swinging at our red bird there, the snot guy.
That's the one, yep.
That's an 11. 11 hits.
Lovely. So then it's 1d6 damage plus 1d4 kinetic. Okay.
Lovely.
So that'll be 1 damage.
Okay.
And so 1 slashing and 1 kinetic.
Incredible work. Incredible.
Beautiful.
So you boom and smack this thing, and the sword kind of gets stuck in like this slimy layer of like, I have hit honey. That's interesting. You've got another action. Go ahead and do it.
Awesome. I would say with his other hand, he whips out like a perfume bottle. As the sword's stuck in there, whips out like an old style perfume bottle with like the squeezer on the back, and squeezes this like sort of mist into the bird's face, using caustic blast.
Lovely.
So I spray an aerosolized mix of caustic chemicals into the air in front of you. Creatures in the affected area must make a fortitude check against my character level plus precision, taking 1 acidic damage if they succeed and 1d6 acidic damage if they fail. So it would be 1 plus 3, so 4. It has to beat a 4.
Has to beat a 4. I'm going to go ahead and roll it. Rolls a 2 plus... Nope, does not quite beat a 4. Believe it or not a fortitudinous bird.
1d6 poison damage. Acidic damage, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and roll it.
That's another one.
Oh, Leo.
Oh, wow.
Well, you have
Awesome. It's great.
successfully inconvenienced a bird. George, you are up.
I'll use the strike down class skill from the paladin, which will cost me 2 stamina. Okay, so I'll use 2 mana. That will give me like 2 extra damage on my attack, I guess. I'll roll my d12.
Plus your might.
Plus my might. All right, that's 4. All right, roll. So that would be a 9 to hit.
9 will hit that bird. You also have a +2 because of your stance, right?
Yeah. So 11.
Yeah. So that's an 11. Definitely hits, yeah.
Cool beans. And then that will be 1d8 plus 2 kinetic damage.
Yes, for your strike down.
All right. I'll roll the d8. Oh my god, that's a 1.
What is happening?
That's wild.
Have we rolled any just middle numbers?
Well, I'll have to do my mana and stuff, take down. But so that's 1 plus 2, I guess.
Okay.
And then since the stance was a thing at the beginning, I'll just attack normally again.
Okay.
And then an 8 to hit.
That is actually going to miss. The bird is not strong, but, it's a bird.
All right. Second attack misses.
All right. We are moving on to poor Noodle. Noodle is, you guys see him kind of thrashing around like something is grappling onto him. And that is going to be the entirety of his turn, just sort of flopping around on the ground over there. Zane, you're up.
So Zane, I think, pulls out his sword, which is like a, like a tanto, like a Japanese sword, but it has like no hand guard on it. It's like all one thickness in terms of the sheath. So I think he like pulls it out and slices upward at it and tries to attack the one that just attacked Leo before.
1d12 plus, for most weapons, it's might. Some weapons have the precise property that lets you use precision instead.
Great. So that's an 11 on the die plus 4, 15.
11 will 15 definitely hits.
Wonderful.
See if you can do more than 1 damage.
That would be so great.
So now roll my damage, which is 1d8 plus 1.
Hey!
That's 8 damage.
How does Zane kill this snot bird that is attacking his buddy?
Oh, perfect. So yeah, as I say, he like pulls the sword out from the hilt and he slices upwards in one motion, and I think he just slices directly through this thing in one smooth cut.
Leo, you engage with this bird, you spray it with your perfume, there's a flash of steel in the evening sunlight, and then 2 piles of jello goo fall at your feet as you see your friend Zane holding his sword out and then turning to take his second action.
Yes, and he's going to spin around and attack the squid gull behind him with the sword again.
Take your shot.
And that's 6 on the die plus 4, 10.
10 will hit.
Awesome. Let's roll that damage again. And that's another 8 damage.
Zane, you murder the squid gull, which does not have a lot of HP.
Spin around just like a cool, like perfect, it's like all like one smooth movement, I guess. Slices up and then swings back across and slices through the other one.
And done. 2 dead birds. Zane, that is your turn, my guy.
He's so badass. It's unbelievable.
We are back to the top. We are up to the bird's turn. First thing to do is our lovely lingering squid gull trying to engage with George over here is going to use its attack. The attack is called Thrash and Peck. Just wanted to put that out there. That's what happens when we have an octopus coming out of the face of a seagull. It is going to take a shot at you, George. First attack is a 2. It's just going to use 2 actions to attack. Second attack is a 3 plus something. Neither of those are going to get through your armor. So this thing, you've clobbered this thing, right? And it's kind of recovering, and it's sort of like thrashing and slashing at you. And I think you get the sense as this is happening, this creature, it's not good at being in its body, right? Like, this is a thing that is trying to adapt to the situation it's finding itself in, and it's really just a problem for itself. It's not so much making measured attacks as it is just flailing at you and having a lot of sharp bits. Next up in the initiative, we've got the Snotbatros is dead. The Squid Gull, number 2, is dead. But we do have this bigger bird that is kind of perched down, and I'm going to say it comes down to land behind you. Not behind you, I'm sorry. Where it is over there. This is a big fella. This thing is like the size of a small dog. It is more deformed than the other ones in terms of like something vile and eldritch has corrupted whatever form this thing initially had. You see that its maw extends all the way down its chest cavity, and as it opens, you see another head kind of coming out, and that one opens and another head comes out, and there's eyes and tentacles coming off of this thing. First thing it's going to do at the start of its turn, I need everybody to go ahead and roll a willpower check for me.
That's a 6 from Zane.
All right, I've got +4 for that, and that will be 11 total.
That will be a 10 plus 2, 12.
Okay, Zane is the only one who has failed this check here. Poor Zane, getting all the weird stuff happening to him today.
Oh no.
Zane, as you slice through these 2 deformed monstrosities, you turn. George could probably handle that seagull, right? Yeah, totally. You look at this other thing, and this eye, this glowing yellow caustic eye that has emerged and formed in unholy, strange, misshapen ways that hurt to look upon, melding with the flesh and feathers, taking up the wing of this bird. That feeling again of falling backwards into your own mind.
You don't know where you are, Flash. You don't feel like yourself. You're not a person. You're not a creature. You're just a thing, an entity, something fundamental, primordial. It's dark. It's cold. Quiet for a moment. Soft susurrus. Flow. Change in the tides of cold that flow above and below and around you. This feeling you get water. Immense tons of pressure. Many atmospheres of freezing, cold, dark. Sleep. Ages unknown. Time means nothing. Down here. Something tickles your awareness. Beacon of light shines through. This fathomless void, not physical, not illuminating the space around you, but something that calls to you, a song is there. Shake off sleep, shake off slumber. It's time to defeat.
Zane is looking at a bird. The bird turns. It is going to move, first action, forward to attack Zane. It just had this lovely intimate moment with. It is going to attempt a maw attack on you. Make a roll. That is going to be a 12 to hit. Zane, what's your armor? I'm sorry. No, I lied. That's a 6 to hit. I was in the wrong spot. Looking at the wrong thing.
It's like, damn, that was there's a bonus on that one. His armor is a 7.
Just missed. This thing, as you're like coming out of that vision and having this moment, you see this bird come flying at you, and as it does, it unfolds. It blossoms like a flower made of teeth and gristle. and snaps. And Zane, I think, has the wherewithal to just go, and get out of the way. That is its second action that round. We go now to our lovely Leo.
Leo's seeing this monstrosity of bird in front of him. I think would pull out a little potion vial that he's got on like a little bandolier or something along those lines, and throw it at the Doom Squire.
The good old Doom Squire.
Yeah. Leo's going to throw up a little potion vial full of Dr. Monroe's malicious microbes.
Lovely. Read that off for me.
All creatures within 5 feet take 1d4 poisonous damage per your character level. You must make a fortitude check equal to your character level. On a failure, they take the same amount of acidic damage. If I throw that here, will that hit both the Squid Gull and the Doom Squad?
I believe you can. So they need to make a fortitude check. Is that it?
Yes. Must make a fortitude check equal to my character level. Oh, they take the damage and must make a fortitude check. On a failure, they take the same amount of acidic damage.
There we are. Okay, perfect. No way they can fail that check at this level. So what that represents is as your character advances, your plague doctoring gets better. There's a much higher and higher chance of these concoctions being even more potent. But for now, they are definitely taking that damage no matter what. So go ahead and roll us up some poisonous damage.
Lovely. Do you want me to roll them separately or just both hit the same?
Nah, roll all at once. Well, yeah, go for it.
So I'm going to take 4 points of poison damage.
Lovely. How does the Squid Gull die?
I imagine it gets sort of splashed with that sort of caustic solution, and you watch just like as parts of it just get eaten away. Because these are by microbes. They're like it's not poison, it's actual microbes sort of just eating them away.
It kind of just, to pull a Mercer, sloughs off into a pool of nasty.
Yep.
That thing is down. The skua is still up and looking pissed.
Awesome. I think Leo would take the step forward and swing a sword.
Yeah, so you can do a dash attack and still make an attack. It just, you roll it with a D8 instead of a D12 as just a penalty for combining the two.
So a D8 plus my accurate. So a D8. That's, yep.
Incredible
That's
work.
a 1. That's a 1 plus 2 plus 1. So that's 4 total.
Shockingly does not hit this terrible bird. Okay, George, you are up.
Yeah, like I'm swinging at the Squid Gull in front of me, and then it just like dies.
Yeah, it melts pretty horrifically.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And then I look around for the next opponent, and I see this guy right next to my two buddies, and I'll level the axe in front of me and charge it for a charge attack. So that gives me a D8 to attack rather than a D12. But can I still put some stamina into that to make it like a precise attack?
Absolutely. So it'll be a D8 plus your might plus whatever extra you spend in your careful attack. So if for every two stamina you put into a careful attack, you add 1 to the attack roll.
Okay, so I've got 7 stamina. I'll use 4 stamina. So I'll just make that a +8 to hit, I guess.
Yeah, that'll work.
So I'll roll the D8. So that's 5 plus 8. It's 13 to hit.
13 hits the bird.
All right, so that's 5 damage. And then so I used 4 of my stamina, so I still 3 left. I'll use 2 stamina and 6 mana to do like that strike down attack again.
Okay, lovely. Go ahead and make a roll.
And that's 7 plus 4.
An 11 does hit the bird.
No, never mind. It's a 7 total. Never mind.
Oh, 7 total does not hit, unfortunately. As I'm sorry to say this, but you hear Noodles cry out as you see this writhing thing kind of disappear. A moment later, Noodles turns, stands, looks at you with blank eyes, blank expression. Something kind of slithers down his throat. Noodles is going to use his actions to start running down the road.
Oh boy.
It's a lovely city. Nothing bad ever happens. Zane, you're up.
Well, first, I think Zane is just definitely going to attack the skewer in front of him with another sword slash, which is...
D12 plus might.
Okay, D12 plus might. Cool. Thank you. Great. And my might is 4. Yep, that's a roll of 5 on the die plus 4, 9.
So that's a miss. Second action.
But I will attack again. Let's go. Hit this time. Hey, exactly the same roll. 5 plus 4, 9. I miss on both. What?
I think Zane's having a bad time with what just went down with that bird. We are coming back around to said bird. Once again, at the top of its round, I need everyone to make a willpower check for me.
Sure.
The good news is the target goes down as the birds die, so...
That's a 3 plus 2, 5.
That's a 10 for me.
You needed to meet or beat a 10. Who didn't?
No, I did
nope.
not.
Leo and George. Zane, are you good on this one? Zane made it. Woo!
Hanging in there.
It's like a reverse from last round.
Leo, you have this immense moment of vertigo. Open your eyes. Everything is distorted, warped. The horizon is not level. It feels just kind of a fisheye lens type effect. I don't think you would know that, but you've probably played with lenses and optics in your studies at one point, so you've seen this kind of distortion before. It whirls around you. You see landmarks that you recognize, the shores of Bollock's Docks, the walls of Tumble Frey, the Gate District, but they're all warped and twisted, and you're whirling and twirling. You see the air rushing past your feathers. Feathers? You have feathers. A crash below. Great noise. Calls from the other birds. You look down. Things falling out of a ship. A ship has crashed. Food. There's food. We dive. Rushing. Water. Meat. Something's wrong. Something crawling down your gullet. Struggle. Trying to escape. Get free. Can't. Darkness. George. These damn prisoners, George. That big guy, George, don't like him. Strutting around like they know what's going on. It's just, you gotta keep them in line. You got a strong hand. That's what the warden always says. Strong hand, keep them in line. No discipline, no issues. We're gonna go try and check out that other wreck. Might be something good there. It's not on the registry, so, we get first pick. And we can just tell them what we happen to find, anything we don't want. It's really perfect. That George guy downstairs, that Castle kid's getting mouthy, but, I whipped him this morning. He'll get in shape. That'll be fine. Warden wants to see you. All right, yeah, I'll meet him in the cabin. We'll talk about how we're going to approach this new wreck, this new salvage. Oh, he's already brought up some of the stuff. That's fantastic. Yeah, all right. When first crew came back, I didn't know they were done yet. Warden doesn't look so good. Off about him. Hey, what do you do? Struggle. Fight. Bruised, beaten, grappled, thrown around, slammed into the bulkhead, pushed down. Warden's got something in his hand, something wriggling. Something awful. What is that? Warden, get off me. I understand. All right, we'll head back to the city. We've got enough. We used the 7th down there already. Next crew, now we need them in good shape. It's time to head back. We've got what we need. Anyways, this bird's going to make a maw attack on Leo. I'm going to roll that in front of the board. You're going to take 15 slashing damage. And 2 eldritch damage.
I disagree strongly.
Why don't we take a look at the damage chart here and see what 15 slashing damage does to us?
Oh, boy.
Is that your first slashing damage?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So you're going to hit that bleeding milestone on the chart. As you're ticking off these boxes, you'll see these darker squares there.
Oh, yeah. So I'm on my 4th round of bleeding.
4 rounds of bleeding. Bleeding is not awful. There's ways to deal with it. Every round, while you're bleeding, you're going to take an additional slashing damage. So it's one of those things that, like, it'll resolve itself because you'll remove that round every time it happens, but it's going to put you in a worse position as you go. 2 eldritch damage. So I think you're going to have to make 2 more checks to avoid becoming frightened, if I remember where you're at.
Only 1.
Only 1. Even better. Okay, so that's going to be a higher check this time, so go ahead and do that.
Okay, so knowledge. 4 plus current eldritch. 4 plus... Oh, that's an 8. Jeez. Okay.
You got this. I believe in you. You roll so well.
Yeah, definitely. Actually,
Hey!
yeah, okay, that's a 13. So that's gonna beat the 8 I need to get.
Say what you will about our plague doctor. He ain't scared of birds. There is a wrinkle in this situation, my friend. I haven't run the math on your character sheet, but I do believe if you look down at your toughness box on the very bottom of the page, I think we are over whatever point of damage that first milestone is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, right. Yep.
We're going to have to make a roll onto the affliction table.
Lovely.
So, for those following along at home, Relict has, as you've heard, intricate, fun damage system. Can get into a bad scrape pretty quick if you're like our good friend Leo here, who takes an enormous amount of damage at any one particular type. However, the good news, when combat ends, all of that damage goes away. Your characters patch themselves up. You wipe the slate clean, as it were. So that's great. The problem is, as you're taking that damage, it can trigger what we call afflictions. These are injuries. They are long-term lasting effects that do not resolve automatically. You have to do something about them or take an extended rest, which will take your character out of action for a while if events are moving along without them. So, Leo, why don't you go ahead and make your first affliction roll for us? You don't have any yet, so it's just 1d8.
Okay. That'll be a 3.
3. What does 3 on the old affliction table say?
Okay, so armor compromised. Minor? My armor is reduced by 1.
All right. That could have been so much worse.
Yeah, I feel like that's getting off pretty okay.
Yeah, so, hey, after taking this huge mauling from this freaky eldritch bird, your armor gets really torn up. That is going to remain that way until that affliction is dealt with. However, the twist on all of that is every time you roll on the affliction table, you add the number of afflictions you already have to the roll. So you roll a d8. There are more than 8 afflictions, and they get worse as the number gets higher. So you open up the possibility of, with some bad luck, of worse things happening to you. Okay, but that is our bird's turn. Leo, it is your turn.
I think Leo's going to run a magnetized strike.
Lovely.
So control magnetic fields to direct your weapon to crucial points on your target. So long as you are sustaining the stability, your weapon attacks score a critical hit on a roll of 11 or 12.
Fantastic.
So basically gives myself a buffer of critical. So I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to careful attack with my short blade.
Lovely.
And I'm just going to use 2 stamina to give myself an extra 1 on that. So 1d12 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1, so plus 4. So it'll be a 12.
12 will hit.
Lovely. And so that's going to be 1d6. It's going to be 2 damage, 2 slashing damage.
Let's 2 slashing damage. This thing is looking pretty much on its last legs. Yeah, George, you're up.
All right. George will step to this side. I don't know. Just so we don't stand in a row. Then he's gonna use the big axe and swing down with a precise attack, combined with that strike down attack. So I'm gonna use all my stamina and all my mana, which will give me +9 to hit.
Lovely.
On my attack, and do 6 extra force damage. All right, let's roll that. So that's 17 to hit.
Yeah, it turns out 17 hits.
And then we'll have a D8, 3 plus 6 damage, so 9 damage.
How does George end this bird?
It's like it's a strike coming from, like, he lifts his axe over his head, like an executioner would, and then it just comes down, and it comes down so quick. It's like almost breaks the sound barrier.
With the power of your god behind him, George strikes down, annihilating this bird with the energies of your divine might, channeling through what is also fundamentally a big frickin' weapon. That bird goes down and is destroyed. You are out of threat right now. We're going to stay in initiative for 1 round. If you guys want to try and do something about Noodle, he will escape at the end of this round. But I'm going to give you guys all the option to take a shot first.
I still got like 1 action, so can I run? Can I run towards him?
Absolutely.
I'll try to run in front of him to stop him.
Zane, you're up.
Great. So I'm going to run. I want to run so I'm within 10 feet. So that's my first action. And then for my second action, I want to use Flash Blind.
Oh.
It says target creature within range must succeed on a precision check. Target 1d6 plus your character level. If it fails, it's blinded until the end of your next turn. And if it fails by 5 or more, it's blinded and deafened until the end of its next turn.
Precision check. Okay.
All right. Come on, high number. Son of a gun. That's a 1. Plus my character level, which is also a 1, is 2.
So it is not blinded. Okay. Is that 2 actions for you, Zane?
Yeah, that was me. I tried my best.
All right, we're going to run this last round. It's going to be Leo, George, Zane, and then at the end of that, Noodle's probably going to make his getaway. I'm going to let you guys take a run at him here. We're kind of out of combat, but just running the turn order for real quick.
George is just going to say, in a world full of suspicion, man, your heart's got to be your vision. And then as Zane fails to blind this guy.
You know what? I'll let you guys choose. So each of you, we're going to go into what's called soft initiative right now, for 1 round, and then we're going to call it on this encounter here. Yeah, soft initiative. You all still have 2 actions per turn, but you guys can choose what order you all go in, and you can even mix it up. Like I take an action, he takes an action, that kind of deal.
Yeah, I want to throw fortifying follicles in the path of Noodle.
You've been listening to Sounds Like Relict, a collaboration between Sounds Like Adventure and Hounsong Games to celebrate the launch of the Kickstarter for Relict. Relict is a free tabletop role-playing game system designed to power awesome characters on incredible adventures, and the Kickstarter is happening right now. So if you liked what you heard today and you'd like to play Relict yourself, head over to the Kickstarter and back the campaign. There's some amazing books on offer and even a stretch goal to turn the campaign that we're playing right now into a module. So if you'd like to bring 10 silvers bent to your table, then back the campaign now. The link is in the show notes. So with all that in mind, we'll catch you next week for the next episode of Sounds Like Relict.